To the afternoon sports drive on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network.
Now let's do this.
It's just two men cheating the system by actually getting paid to talk sports.
You volunteered, didn't you? We're paying you, aren't we?
Good thing they like being heard, because we don't pay them that much.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
The first of the duo is never shy about letting you know where he stands.
Okay, hot take, but I like your confidence.
The other promises he'll grow on you with time.
It's like a new pair of underwear. At first it's constrictive, but after a while it becomes a part of you.
Together they're bringing you the best in Oklahoma State sports talk and their opinions on sports topics from around the country.
That's right. Listen up. Hey, listen up. You.
Patrick Wheeler.
Let's stomp these dudes.
And Zach Lancaster.
Everyone is stupid except me.
This is the Afternoon Sports Drive on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network.
That's what I'm talking about. Sport.
You ain't never heard nothing like this. Let me work. Show me where the mic is. I'm on stage, black shirt and my Timbs. You know how I do it. I ain't playing with you. I've been grinding. Anybody trying to sleep on me, better do something with your eyelids. I hear a lot of whining, but I don't hear a lot of rhyming. Whoa. Everybody got opinions. Let it go into my ear, then I block that. Put me on stage, I'ma rock that. Saying you the best. Stop that, phony. I am not that. Yeah. What are y'all doing out here? What are y'all doing out here? Maybe you should spend a little less time with the women on your arms and a little bit more with your career. I ain't saying I'm the best, but I should be in the top 10. Give me a list of names. I'ma top them. I'm just playing with you. I don't care what the top is. Leave me at the bottom. Let me work for it. You ain't never gonna find another rapper in the game and tell me that he works more. Tell me that he works more. Nah. You might see me with my hoodie up. I ain't leaving till I finish. This industry ain't...
Welcome into the Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler and Zach Lancaster's in-house.
What is up?
Man, it's good to see you walk in here. It's been a minute.
Oh, man. So, what was that? The 3rd? November 3rd? Wednesday, November 3rd?
Over a month, man.
Yeah, it's December 7th.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
Honestly, it felt really weird walking in.
Remember what this place looks like?
No, I had to ask my wife for directions.
Directions and, like, how to use the mic now and, like,
what
everything.
What address is the radio station? Where do I go?
Oh, man.
It's nice being out, though.
It's the little
really
things
nice
I'm sure
out.
that you realized that you appreciate a lot more, like just being outside.
I'll tell you right now, I no longer have road rage. Drive a little slower.
Okay.
I don't get as angry when I get cut off.
Okay. See, now you might want to teach me that one because I don't think
COVID, almost die, and you won't have road rage.
I had COVID but didn't almost die, so
almost die.
I wasn't on that level with you.
You got to stay in the hospital for a week. You got to stay in your house for a week before that. 2 weeks after that, use oxygen, a walker, and almost die.
Okay.
And you will not have road rage.
That's a lot to do.
You will not care.
That's a lot to do, and it sounds like it's...
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it sounds like it takes a lot of effort. So.
I would just hire Jack Nicholson to be your anger management coach. That would probably be better.
It's real anger management when I'm driving, man. I'm telling you. I mean,
I feel you. I feel you. I was a hateful person when I drove before.
Yeah, I still am. I need one of those experiences that just like wake me up and be like, hey, appreciate it. Appreciate the time you spend in traffic, dude.
Right.
Yeah, hey, good to have you back, man. We got a lot of good stuff to get into today. This Monday show brought to you by Stillwater Milling Agri Center, 502 East 6th and Stillwater. Cowboy National Finals Rodeo Christmas Special. It's coming up right now for the real cowboy and your family, and now through Saturday you can get $200 off the fully automatic shoot help roping chutes. Everything you need there. And then for Christmas, they're running specials right now on Ariat footwear. You can get all the latest Ariat boots, women's Western boots, men's boots, anything you want. Stillwater Milling Agri Center. Appreciate them as always. Oklahoma State football coming up. Oklahoma State basketball over the weekend. They play tomorrow again as well. We'll get into that. Much more. NFL takeaways coming up in the second hour. Buy or sell. A lot of good stuff. So, Oklahoma State TCU, this is the game that when we looked at what happened with Oklahoma and then got through Texas Tech, and I think it was you that threw me the question and said, hey, can Oklahoma State sweep through the rest of the schedule?
Yeah, that was me.
And I thought, they should. Those are all really winnable games.
Absolutely.
TCU was absolutely winnable. Texas Tech was winnable. And Baylor certainly is winnable. And then at the time, you throw in, they're also still playing for a very slim chance of the Big 12 title game, but
wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't. Yeah, right. And
ended up not mattering.
And so you, it wouldn't have mattered, but you were still playing for that. And then, I mean, Iowa State looks like they can't really be stopped.
I will say
so.
it would have been nice to not have the fan base completely divided.
That is a good point.
Did you? I will say this though. Did you by chance happen to hear the stat that Tom threw out to me about 10 minutes ago during the break?
I did. I thought that was interesting.
Going back to the start of Gundy's tenure, Oklahoma State is 11-20 in the final 2 games of the regular season.
That's just that. Look, when I heard that, blew me away.
Unbelievable stat.
That blew me away.
Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to pull up the schedule, and I want to go through that because that. I mean, you look at this team here, and someone asked me the question yesterday. Like they've lost 3 games, which isn't great, but I think any given year, especially you go back and it's a hypothetical, I guess. And Tom, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but like you go back to the 90s and the 80s, the early 80s, Oklahoma State fans would have killed for a 3-loss season, literally killed for a 3-loss season. You look at what Mike Gundy has done for the program, and he has completely turned it around. Oklahoma State is experiencing a success right now that it's never experienced in a long stretch. And what he's done is he's turned it into a program that once he decides to leave or whatever, when Gundy is no longer here, that success will continue. Unless they just bring in a coach that just can't get it done. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It's still a ways off, but he's started Oklahoma State down a path where it's no longer going to be a stepping stone program. 10, 15, 20 years, Oklahoma State's no longer going to be a program where an offensive coordinator comes. Well, I guess that's not accurate because you look at Alabama and offensive coordinators, whatever. But I think Oklahoma State is kind of a stepping stone program right now. If they were to get a head coach and he were to win 2 or 3 seasons right now and someone else were to come calling, he'd be like, you know what, I think I'll take that. But you give it 10 to 15 years, and Gundy has turned this program into a place where it's going to continue down that path where another coach is going to come in. They're going to have success recruiting because players want to play here. And then for coaches, it's going to be a destination-type program. But yesterday's loss was Saturday's loss was a bad loss. And this season, I think you look at it as a whole, is a disappointment. And we talked about that. I think it was yesterday. Or it would have been Friday. I don't know when it was.
They all run together.
I'm still getting, But you look at, I get that COVID happened. I get that, they had to push the season back, whatever. I get but you look at the offensive line problems they've had. Chuba's been banged up. You look at the players that came back. This year should have been one of the best years in program history. They should be playing for a Big 12 title. They should have clinched it yesterday with a win or whenever they would have clinched it. But as it is, you lose 2 offensive linemen before the year start. You lose 2 in the first game of the season. You get nicked up. You get banged up. You're having to play freshmen and redshirt freshmen that have never played before. Like Gundy said today, these are guys that were on the scout team. These are guys that didn't really even look at the playbook because they're just, they're just helping out. And now they're having to start. They're having to rotate in. You get injuries throughout the year. You lose Rodarius Williams on Saturday. Chuba's still banged up. You lose Trey Sterling to an injury. Tylen had a scary moment where he came up limping from that touchdown. That was really scary. It's such an unfortunate season, and I don't know, man. It's because you look at it, and you can blame the coaching staff because the coaching staff should have the players. They should have had the players ready to go on Saturday. TCU is a team that if you're having to play, your 4th string quarterback that is a walk-on, you should be able to do enough. You should be able to move the ball against that defense. The defense shouldn't be giving up big plays. And I wholeheartedly disagree with what Gundy said on Saturday, talking about, the defense, we got to stop giving up big plays. That's not the defense's fault.
Right. They
created 5 turnovers. Eamon Ogbongbemiga set a school record with 3 strip fumbles and recovered 2 of those. The 5 turnovers and you lose by 7. You miss 2 field goals and an extra point and you lose by 7. You shouldn't be losing ball games, especially to TCU.
Gundy pulled a classic Matt Nagy. Remember last week when I told you that Yeah, he comes out and immediately blames the defense that's been good for him all year. He did the same thing. I didn't get that either. I thought that was way off base. And I think what happens is with a team that does shift in the direction of becoming a winning ball club, which is what Oklahoma State did.
Absolutely.
Expectations change as well over the years, right? If you become a squad that is used to losing and you're used to losing a solid number of games every single year, the expectations don't come in high. But Mike Gundy has changed that mindset around here to where, okay, we know the recruiting is going to be good enough for the most part. Not like next level, but with some good players. Position-wise, you're always going to have a few possible elite talents every single year. The coaching staff, you trust in it now, and you, for the most part, trust in the decisions that Mike Gundy makes, knowing that, okay, we're going to make the right decisions to get us in a winning position. So with that happening, expectations change. When you get 3 losses in a season, and one of them coming to a TCU squad, like we said, going into, look at the beginning of the season, never would have put TCU winning against Oklahoma State. It would have been a long shot no matter what.
Well, and at the time, honestly, same with Texas.
Well, I agree, and that's why coming into this year, looking at the best teams in the Big 12, Oklahoma State was picked right near the top, and we were around the 2 spot with Texas and the 3 sometimes behind with different people. And that's why it's, I think, so frustrating as well to the fan base, is because not only were the expectations high, but this year you come in and we sat here this entire offseason and hyped up the offense and knew they were going to be a big-time playmaking offense.
Absolutely.
We're going to have that ability, right, to strike at any moment and to win ball games. And heck, if they needed to, let all of it rest on their offense. We didn't know that the defense was going to step up as elite as it has this season for the most part. They do that. And then the offense, we're sitting here again now with 1 game left in the regular season talking about how the offense isn't able to get it done. Because, yes, the defense gave up big plays. And, that's been an issue the last few weeks. It really has. But the best teams with an offense that's good enough can usually overcome that. And when a defense gets you 5 turnovers in a game and you can only get points on 1 of those turnovers, if I'm Mike Gundy, how can you blame any of that on your defense?
And that was the defense scoring those points.
That's exactly
turnover.
Right. It was the scoop and score to start the game.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that at all. And that's where more frustration comes from. Is he blaming? If he's going to blame, is he blaming the right people? And then it made me think back. I think it was 3 years ago now, maybe 4, when there was talk of Mike Gundy headed into Tennessee. Right, or at least had that opportunity to have that job. Remember his name was thrown around?
I think it was before last season.
Okay, so maybe
it was either before last season, or definitely after. I think it was after Mason Rudolph's year. I don't.
Was that 2018?
2017 was that year. Yeah. So it would have been the offseason of 18. I could be wrong, but I think it was the offseason of 18.
All the talk about Gundy made me think back to that when his name was tossed around for the Tennessee job. And that was a program that was desperately needing leadership. And I wondered 2 things. One, after the way this season has gone, and think about everything that happened in the offseason too, is there any part of him that regrets not attempting that Tennessee job in the SEC? And then the other part is, okay, look back from a fan standpoint here. Mm-hmm. Had he done that, where would the Oklahoma State team be right now? So I think that it would be much, I wouldn't say like much worse where we are, but it wouldn't be the same level. Mike Gundy does bring a difference to this team, okay, on every aspect. He really does. And I know we're going to get into a little bit later on as well, but there's been a lot of talk these last few weeks. Okay, well, maybe that's it for him, and maybe so. Some coaches run out their course at schools, right? Where they maybe get to the line where they feel like, okay, I can only do so much here. I don't know if that's the case for Mike Gundy. He's been here forever, right? And maybe he needs a new change just for himself. I don't think that's going to be the case. But to everybody that, immediately goes to, and that's what's going to happen, is that when a team like this struggles, where do you think people are going to go with the blame? Of course it's going to go to the head coach. It's going to go to the coaching staff. And Mike Gundy knows that. So there's these people, and I've seen a lot of it today. A lot of it this weekend. Oh, why are we going straight for the coaching? Well, of course, you're always going to do that, So I think Mike Gundy's in a tough situation here but we have to understand he's going to receive his fair amount of criticism at this point.
Did you, by chance, listen to his Zoom call with the media this morning?
I did.
Did you hear? Okay,
yes.
So when Garen Emig asked the disappointment, you go back, I think it's 4 years now that they've had a Big 12. This will be the 4th year they've had a Big 12 tournament, Big 12 title game. And Gundy was asked by Garen Emig about, is this year more disappointing knowing that other team, with how good your team is, you're not in it, and there have been other teams that have made it, like Texas and Baylor and Iowa State. and Gundy was like, well, look at the consistency. And I understand the frustration, because I grew up an Oklahoma State fan. I was born in Stillwater. My folks met here. They have multiple degrees from here. My mom works in the business school. So I would consider myself an Oklahoma State fan. I understand the frustration. I get it. I'm just as upset about this year as anyone. There's been a lot of unfortunate circumstances that have happened this year, but they still had talent. They shouldn't have lost to TCU. They shouldn't have lost to Texas. The turnovers are completely unacceptable. But I think Gundy had a little bit of a point. He was like, would you rather have a consistently good team with wins every year, or would you rather make a Big 12 title game, lose, and then go back to being mediocre? You look at Baylor. Baylor made the Big 12 title game, I think, last year or the year before, and they've really struggled since making that. Iowa State, I think this is Brock Purdy's probably last year in Ames. What is he now? Is he only a sophomore, redshirt sophomore?
Say
or is he a true sophomore?
Yeah, he's a redshirt, I believe.
So if he's a redshirt sophomore, he's had a really good year. He could potentially leave. So I've got his profile here. He is a junior.
Oh, he's a junior.
So he'll be a senior next year. So it's possible, depending on what he hears, that Brock Purdy might not be back. They'll have a running game, but we don't know what Iowa State's going to look like. And Texas, well, they're horrible every year. I get that they made the Big 12 title game, but that was by happenstance. So as much as I would love for Oklahoma State to make the Big 12 title game, I'm with everyone there. I definitely agree with what Gundy said, and I agree with what you said. You look at what Gundy's done to this program, and I don't know how much success Oklahoma State would have without Mike Gundy right off the bat. I get, like, he's brought this program to where when they bring in another coach, they're going to have success because they have good players. They recruit players that fit the system that they develop. You look at Trey Sterling, hardly ranked. They've developed Trey Sterling, and it was an absolute joke that he was left off the Jim Thorpe Award semifinalist today. You look at Colby Harvell-Peel. You look at Amen Ogbongbemiga. You look at these players that they've brought in that are just so good. Calvin Bundage, guys that make a difference, and they develop them. They're not getting 4- and 5-star guys consistently. I think that's changing. I think the quality of players gets a little bit better each year, even though they're not highly ranked, like in the top 100. I think the quality of players is getting better. But what he's done, without Mike Gundy, there's no telling where this program would be.
Sure. No, I think it's fair.
And so the consistency year after year, the last 2 years have been disappointing, sure. But every program goes through some ups and downs unless you're Alabama or Clemson or what have you. So I get it. I understand the frustration, but Mike Gundy, with what he's done with this program, he's not going to get fired. He's not going to get fired this year. He's just not.
No, it's not going to happen this year. I completely agree with that too. We have to remember his son is on deck.
I think even if, knock on wood, I think even if they get blown out by Baylor and lose in a bowl game, I still don't think they get rid of him.
No, and we're going to get into that later too. But a lot of it could be who's even playing in this next game, this next bowl game. We'll get into that. Much more being made about Mike Gundy and the performance from Oklahoma State. Obviously on Saturday, a game they end up losing to TCU and effectively knocking them out of any chance of the Big 12 title game. Oklahoma State basketball, we'll get to them later on as well. Crazy weekend in the NFL. Also, show brought to you by Stillwater Milling Agri Center today. And don't forget, today you can go to Stillwater Milling from 4 to 5 p.m. And Baxter, the mini horse from Turning Point's going to be there.
Oh, snap.
Oh, yeah. I know you can't go. You have to stay. Sorry. But yeah, I know. Yeah. I was feeling all of a sudden.
I'm feeling a little under the weather.
All of a sudden, Zach's not feeling well. He's gonna have to go check out Baxter, the mini horse. You can visit him at the Agri Center today. You can buy a gift from the Angel Tree, and when you do that, you're supporting Turning Point. 4 to 5 p.m. Stillwater Milling Agri Center. We'll be back with more after this on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network.
You can call till your voice is running out, but I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. I'm somewhere far away where you can't bring me down, so I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. Yeah, run it back.
Welcome back, Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Show today brought to you by Stillwater Milling Agri Center, 502 East 6th in Stillwater. While the NFR is going on this week in Arlington at Globe Life Field, you can get $200 National Finals rodeo savings of $200 from Shoot Help on their automatic roping chutes, as well as all the ladies out there that listen to our show. I know there's some. Okay, Zach, don't give me that look. Your man's favorite Christmas gift will be a pair of Ariat boots. Dressed up to down home Ariat boots for the guy on your Christmas list. Get it for him. Only Stillwater Milling Agri Center. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster checking out this OSU TCU game, breaking it down a little bit here. And let's get more into the game. You know, I thought that, first of all, let's say this. I thought the play calling, I haven't had a huge issue with play calling all year, really. There's been times like any other season I'll question the play call, but I thought overall this game was pretty conservative. You know, and there were multiple times where I'm thinking on third down, okay, what are we doing here? Specifically on one where, you know, we're more than one, so we're running a read option on third down or a quarterback draw or whatever. I didn't really understand that part. But early on in the game, you know, and when Brock scoops and scores early, I'm thinking, this game could be over if the defense plays like that. And part of me is also thinking, all right, Oklahoma State defense got another score. Like, that seems like the norm for this defense this year. It was great to see early, and I'm thinking, okay, if we build off that, this one could be over. There were more couple moments in the first half offensively with Dez running the football again, where he had a couple of really nice chunk plays, and I'm thinking he's going to pop off. It's going to be another really good game for him. And overall, it wasn't a bad game for him by any means. First half was really where he did all his damage, though. They give TCU credit. They shut him down in that second half. But here's the thing that Oklahoma State has to do better for me. They have to maintain a lead when you get it. You know, you're up 13-0 the first quarter, and the mindset at that point needs to be, all right, let's put them in the dirt right now. Let's not let TCU have any chance. And I know that doesn't help when you miss a field goal, right? I mean, the kicking game's a whole other issue that happened on Saturday. But you have to be really, really, really aggressive in those situations. And at times this year, I think they've gotten complacent when they've had leads. This team on Saturday, you know, what's frustrating to me personally is that there's things that I've noticed week in and week out, and I think that's maybe where some of the fans are frustrated too, with not just Gundy as a whole, but coaching staff as a whole, maybe, is because the same mistakes and same things are happening every weekend. Some things aren't getting fixed, or some things aren't being addressed. And one of them, first of all, you know, I see Jelani Woods make this catch, and he gets in the open field, and I'm thinking, you know, he's bumbling, stumbling down, he's gonna get tackled. No, he's gonna put a dude on skates and go for 46 yards, and it was awesome. And I'm sitting there yelling at my TV, Jelani, you know, like, they got him the ball. It finally happened. Like, let's do it more often. Let's get him more involved. And that's something that I've screamed about all season, is let's get the tight ends more involved. Let's get a guy like Jelani Woods. He's 6'7", for crying out loud. I know his hands aren't great, but also we're kind of looking at somewhat of a small sample size this year. He hasn't had a ton of passes thrown his way, you know. And I think it was just a dirty move he put on the open field, and that was great to see. A big man with some moves in the open field. He was agile, he was quick, but plain and simple, you got to get him more involved. And I don't understand the lack of using him. And part of it comes to Spencer Sanders not surveying the middle of the field all that much. But the good part was he finally got a target in the red zone. The only issue was it was a bad throw. It was a really bad throw. You know, and I made sure I looked back on that throw to make sure I was.
Oh, it was high.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I addressed it correctly and wasn't just harping on Spencer Sanders making a bad throw. No,
threw it too high, probably too hard.
You somehow overthrow a 6'7" tight end. I don't know, and I know Jelani, maybe the ups aren't all that amazing, but he tried to get up. He's not going to come down with that ball. Granted, it was also a really, really good interception.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that dude managed to pluck it out of midair with one hand.
While staying in bounds.
Yeah, while staying in bounds. That was impressive. I couldn't believe it when he actually came down with it. But that right there was such a turning point in the game, with it being that late in the game. And I went back and watched that throw like 5 times. And Jelani, awesome route, comes right off the line. He's wide open, middle of the end zone. All it takes is a quick dart, and you're making that throw, and that's a touchdown. You make a quick bullet pass, and it's over. I don't know if in Spencer's mind he actually was trying to give him a better chance by getting up and going up a ball where maybe only he had a chance to get it. But you can't overthink those little throws right there. But the good news from that point was, I know the interception, that sucks. It was a really bad throw, and I've harped on Spencer Sanders not making good decisions with the football this year. But it was good to see, albeit a little too late, the tight end getting a target in the red zone. That needs to happen. I mean, guys have literally made careers at tight end positions in the red zone. We've seen that from every single level all the way up to the NFL for sure. So, and I'll tell you this too, Zach, the thing for me with Spencer, going back to talking about the same thing every single week, this game was no different because he was really average most of the time, really bad at some points, and then there's always a handful of plays that really make you sit up and pay attention.
Yeah,
and go,
why is he not doing this?
Yeah, and you go, whoa. So that's what he can do. There was specifically, in this game, it's the end of the first half. End of the first half, there's like 30 seconds or whatever, trying to get in field goal range. And the pocket's starting to collapse a little bit. I think they only rushed 3. Pocket's starting to collapse a little bit. Folds in on him. He backs up out of the pocket, reestablishes himself in a new one, and makes a nice dart throw in the middle of the field off his back foot. Like, that was a big league throw. And that made me think, wow, that's something that we've been wanting to see consistently. But what's the issue is that there's not enough of what he does right there, what I talked about, to get him to the next level. The other really good throw was the touchdown to Thailand. I mean, that was a dime. You mix in with, you say, okay, we take the good there. Now, where's the bad? The bad was that he missed him earlier because he had him wide open in the end zone and threw it too late and he was out of bounds. And that's the problem. I told you that over the break, was that for the offense this entire season, we cannot have a lax defense performance because that the offense run by Spencer Sanders, unfortunately, is not good enough to come back and make plays all the time. And I thought earlier this season, before the season started, I named the big 3. He was the head of the big 3. It was Spencer Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, Tylan Wallace. And now Spencer Sanders was my main focus in this offseason, saying if he doesn't go, the team's not going to go. Mm-hmm. And the injuries certainly in the early part of the season didn't do him any help. I don't know how good he would be right now if he had played a full season. I would hope he'd be better overall. But like I said, there are a few times this year, it seems like in every game, I can point to something, whether it's him running the ball or making a really good throw, and I can say that's next level. That's big time. But there's far too many times where I say quarterback with his experience now should be making that play.
Well, and that's what's frustrating about Spencer. Because, and Tom mentioned it during the break at Casey's show that there were multiple media members, myself and Robert included, that really hyped up Spencer Sanders coming into Oklahoma State. If you go back and you watch his tape in high school, Spencer could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, against whoever he wanted. And I understand that that's Texas 5A football. That's not Division I athletes. But when you look at other quarterbacks that were dynamic and electric in high school, and I'm not comparing Spencer Sanders to Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray is going to go down as one of the greatest high school quarterbacks of all time. And it transitioned and made that transition to college. And he's looking like he can make that transition to the NFL.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's looking like it. He's still got a ways to go.
The first half of the season, no doubt.
He's still got a ways to go, but he looks like he might be able to. Spencer Sanders, when you look at him in high school and you look at other high school quarterbacks that were dynamic in high school and they've made that, they've gone Division I, it's translated. There's been a few busts, and I'm certainly not saying that Spencer Sanders is a bust because he still has, he's just a redshirt sophomore. He still has, a few, well, technically he's going to be a redshirt sophomore next year, so he still has time, but they've been able to make that leap, and Spencer, at times, like you said, is so dynamic. He's so electric on his feet. He can put footballs where only his receivers can get it. He's electric. But that's only like 15% of the time. But when he wants to, he can really turn it up and he can move the ball boom, 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 and just, decimate a defense on his feet. He has great receivers. And so to me, that's what's so frustrating about this offense is it's just not consistent. At times, this is a great offense. They can move the ball quickly. They can score quickly, which is a bit of a detriment to the defense because they're on the field so much. They were on the field way too much at TCU, but I think for me, besides the lack of consistency with the offense, the play calling was very vanilla. It was very conservative. Yeah. Run, pass over the middle, incomplete. Run, pass. Pass out in the flats or an out, incomplete, what have you, or overthrow on a deep ball, or run, pass, what have you. But to me, what was so frustrating off of the 4 turnovers, obviously Brock Martin was the scoop and score touchdown. So after the next 4 turnovers. On the ensuing drive, they did not get 1 first down on those 4 turnovers. When a defense turns the ball over, when they get 5 when you get 3 turnovers, you're most likely winning that ball game because chances are the other team is not going to collect 3 turnovers. They might get 1, they might get 2. Any team that gets 5 turnovers, I don't care if it's the Jets offense. If that defense gets 5 turnovers, that you win that ball game. On those 4 turnovers, not 1 first down. And how huge was the momentum swing off of those turnovers?
Oh, yeah.
Because it wasn't like those turnovers came 13-0. When Oklahoma State was up 13-0, they came after a TCU score. They came after a big play the defense gave up. They came after, a Max Duggan run or an interception, this in the end zone. You go out and it's like, okay, well, we only have, 4 or 5 minutes left in this ball game, and you have Amen Ogbonibamiga stripping the ball twice, in the final, in that last half of the fourth quarter, and it's like, okay, all of a sudden, boom, we've got new life, 3 and out. It was so infuriating that I don't understand it because you've got Des Jackson who showed last week. I get that he's not Chuba Hubbard. He doesn't have the amount of game film or the amount of game experience, but he showed that he could go out there. You had Tylan Wallace for a large portion of the game. You had Dylan Stoner for the game. You had Landon Wolf. You had Braden Johnson. You have receivers. You have a running back that shows that he can do it. You have a quarterback that is dangerous on his feet. And it's the same play calls. Yeah. And I'm not in the camp that says, well, there's a reason why Gundy only hired Casey Dunn this year. Maybe he should have let him go to UNLV. We got to get rid of him. I'm not in that camp. Casey Dunn is a brilliant offensive mind. He's a hell of a recruiter. I hope Casey Dunn stays in Stillwater until the day he decides to retire, because the success that Casey Dunn has had has been huge. And you give Casey Dunn a healthy offensive line. You give Casey Dunn a healthy wide receiver core. You give Casey Dunn healthy running backs, and in Casey Dunn's second year, he's going to be really good with a good offensive line. And you'll have 2 quarterbacks with more experience. What have you? I keep Casey Dunn, but the play calling in this game was really frustrating, especially on after those turnovers because it was so predictable.
Get him on Twitter at ZLancaster91. I'm at DPattyWheels. Yeah, that was something that I thought was pretty glaring from the beginning. I thought maybe it would change, as the game went on, because Casey Dunn, as I said, he's done a great job all year. Why was this the game where it decided to get flat?
Absolutely.
It's not like you were missing Tylan. You did at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. But even then, it's not like they were, and that's the problem that I have with it overall, is even when Casey has called the game well, a lot of it falls back to where I'm talking about. Yeah. Spencer doesn't get his progressions down. And if you look back at some of those plays that did develop, there's every single week we can point to guys. It's usually Dylan Stoner, believe it or not. He's a very good slot receiver, and he's a really good route runner. He creates separation from defenders really well. But what's the problem is Spencer Sanders hardly looks his way.
Yeah, and I get it. Like there have been scenarios where you can look back and be like, well, that's why. There was no reason to be flashy against TCU.
No.
But when you get to the point where you can't move the ball, maybe you need to try something different, you know, and that's the way it's been all year. Like, Spencer hadn't been able to move the ball, so you have to go a little vanilla. I understand it at times. The offensive line's hurt, they're injured, they're banged up, so you have to change the game plan a little bit. But TCU seemed a little unnecessary.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
A little excessive.
Show brought to you by Stillwater Milling Agri Center today. Baxter, the mini horse from Turning Point, is going to be at Stillwater Milling from 4 to 5. In 15 minutes, he's going to be making his much-awaited appearance. Go check him out. Stillwater Milling Agri Center.
And when you do, FaceTime.
That's right, FaceTime. Send us pic. I want to see the Baxter, the mini horse. Yeah. Anytime I see a mini horse.
What color is he? Is he white?
Right? Yeah, I don't know.
Is he black?
Is he mixed?
Is he brown?
Is he spotted?
Oh, we'll never know.
So many questions. Every time I see a mini horse like on the side of the road, you can't help but just go, mini horse.
Yeah, it's exciting. You weren't here, but did you pay attention to Oklahoma State at all last year when they brought BB the mini horse?
I have seen that video. I've seen videos of him.
Oh,
I was like,
man.
wow.
They should have ran him out there for touchdowns.
He needs to be out there all the time.
Oh, man. BB was awesome.
Maybe he'd be like good luck or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to come back on the afternoon sports drive. And we talked about Mike Gundy earlier. Well, we're going to round out this first hour because it got personal for one person over the weekend.
And I've got those stats.
Oh, you do?
I have those the last 2 games of the season. I've got stats and I've got records.
All right. That's all coming up here on the afternoon sports drive on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network.
Whoa.
Staring as I go, I gave until my soul hurt, and never told them so. Watching as I fall.
Welcome back in Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster on this Monday. Show brought to you by Stillwater Milling Agri Center. You got about 9 minutes to get over there to see Baxter.
Go see the mini horse.
Go see Baxter, the mini horse from Turning Point. It's going to be there from 4 to 5. That means pictures. This is an excellent Instagram opportunity.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, you won't
Instagram. This is a Christmas photo.
Put it on the Christmas
card. Go get
card.
your Christmas photos with Baxter the mini horse.
You've got the mom and dad.
Well, depending on how big that kid is,
he's on the horse.
I would imagine you could probably put him on that horse.
You know what? Horses don't have to social distance.
No.
So just go for it. I mean, I'm
curious about that, though. I'd be curious about that
if
situation.
You can ride it.
Yeah. They might not. They might say no.
Well,
because they don't want multiple people on the horse.
If you go there, first of all, find out, but don't say you heard it from this show.
No.
Patrick and Zach told me I could get on this horse.
You can't get. We're not telling you can't get on the horse, but we're telling you that you should find out if you should
at
get
least
on the horse.
Ask and not ask the horse.
The worst they can do is say no.
That's right.
I heard that a lot growing up.
I've heard that.
And
a lot.
guess what? They can say a lot worse than no.
That's so true. That might be the truest thing I've heard.
The worst thing is ew. Oh God, that cuts.
Anybody says that to Baxter, though, they're gonna hear from me.
They're gonna get it.
They're gonna hear from me. So go check him out. He got 7 minutes to do that.
Oh man.
Stillwater Milling Agri Center. So I want to round out this first hour because we were talking about Mike Gundy and his situation. He's everybody's fire Mike Gundy. Well, his son Gavin,
fiery.
Oh yeah.
Fiery.
Hops on Instagram, puts this long post out. I'm not gonna read it. It's not really appropriate for radio, but basically saying, hey, I'm tired of everybody saying this about my dad. My dad's done more for Oklahoma State than anyone has, and he actually did say you're never going to find better, which, I mean, that kind of ruffled some people's feathers. The thing that here's the issue. First of all, when you're a public figure, Mike Gundy's public figure.
Oh, yeah, huge.
You are going to, and if you're a public figure's child, and you're on social media, you're going to see some things you probably don't want to see said. And I get that probably sucks, If I saw people all over social media saying some of the things that I've seen said about Mike Gundy and saying about my dad, that's an issue. I wouldn't like it.
Right.
But oftentimes we, and a lot of us have been guilty of this, fall into the social media trap of, oh my gosh, this dude with 2 followers over here just called this my dad a you-know-what.
Social media is the best and worst thing to ever happen with sports.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and with everything, sports included.
Well, and you look at, so when someone jumps on Twitter, and I've read a lot this weekend. There's been a lot of volatile things said about Mike Gundy. And there's been a lot of people defending him. But Facebook and Twitter, I'm sure that there's some fans on Reddit. But you look at You look at what's been said about Mike Gundy, and I get Gavin's frustrations, and I get the fan, because I like Mike Gundy. I'm a Mike Gundy supporter. I'm not a ride or die. I'm going to the ends of the earth, because I think that there's been a lot of mistakes, and we're going to get into that here in just a few minutes, because Tom brought up an interesting stat that Mike Gundy, during his tenure, Oklahoma State is 11-20 in the last 2 games of the regular season. So we're going to get into that in a second. But when you look at someone talk, say horrible things about Mike Gundy, they're not talking about Mike Gundy the father. They're not talking about Mike Gundy the person. They're not talking about Mike Gundy the husband. They're talking about Mike Gundy, the Oklahoma State football coach that makes $5 million a year.
That's exactly right.
That recruits players that came into this year with a chance to make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying a great chance. I'm not saying a shoo-in, but with the offense that they had, and then we found out how insane the defense was this year, Oklahoma State should have made the college football playoff. You put all that together. If you don't have an injured offensive line, I know if and nuts, but if you look at the offensive line problems and you get rid of those and you combine the offensive firepower with the defense, they make the college football playoff. They win a Big 12 title this year.
Exactly right.
They're 6-3.
Yeah.
They just got embarrassed by a horrible TCU team.
Yeah.
They lost a game to Texas. They had no business losing. OU, I don't know if you win that game, but you certainly don't get blown out. You don't get embarrassed on national TV. I get it. They're bashing the coach that should have maybe one loss right now going into the Big 12 title game.
Basically took the words out of my mouth. I mean, it's true. Because what I would say to Gavin Gundy is, it sucks about the personal connection with your dad. I get it.
Sure.
I get that. But when you do get paid that much money, and on paper, like you said, you're supposed to have a really good offense, the defense shows up. You don't lose to Texas in overtime the way you did. You don't lose to TCU. You're in the running for a Big 12 championship. Of course, you're going to get scrutiny.
Sure.
You don't lose to TCU when your defense causes 5 turnovers and then blame the defense.
Well, you go back to 2017 with Mason Rudolph. Should have probably won a Big 12 title game that year.
Right.
I get that the defense struggled, but you should have at least been in the conversation. I understand the fans' frustrations.
And I'm not over here screaming fire Gundy.
No,
because
I'm not either.
Just like you said, we're not nobody's calling him, well, there's some, but most of us aren't calling him a terrible person or anything. We're just judging his job performance. And, unlike a lot of people around here, we're not afraid to point out when he's not getting the job done. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the case at this point. After TCU, that's the case. No one is questioning his love for the team or the university, which is something Gavin implied. And I agree on the fact that he's received a lot of unnecessary hate because – remember in this offseason, he stated his opinion about the COVID stuff, and people ripped into shreds, even though he was completely right. It wasn't PC, and people were, how could he say that? He doesn't care. He wore a shirt with a news network on it to go fishing, and people ripped into shreds. His own team did. So I think he has been through a lot of unfair.
It's been a rough year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is unfair. I really do. But it is fair to criticize his job performance, bottom line.
Absolutely.
If I'm looking at it just like anybody else's, if it always happens in the coaching world, when you are a coach, you are working, you are hired to be fired. That's it. You either get it done or you don't, and that's where some of the frustration comes in, because especially nowadays in the coaching world and college football, college sports in general, and we see it all over the place in pro sports now too, at least for the most part, if you don't do your job good enough relatively quickly and things don't translate to wins or title games, conference championships, whatever, then usually you don't last very long. Mike Gundy came in at a time where that wasn't necessarily the case yet. But it has become that way.
And I think that's where the argument comes in with Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State fans, because there are 2 types of Oklahoma State fans. You've got old school Oklahoma State fans, and you've got new school Oklahoma State fans. You have the old school fans that lived through the 0-10-1 season. You have the fans that lived through the probation periods, and then you had the Terry Miller days, you had the Thurman Thomas days, Barry Sanders, Hartley Dykes, the limited success throughout the history. And then you had a lot of mediocrity. They're the fans that get their season tickets for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, for every sport. They're the the multiple degree holder, and I'm not saying the new fans aren't multiple degree holders, but you've got, the old school, ride or die. We're a family. Why are you talking bad about him? He's doing his best. Look at what he's done for the program. And then you have the new age fans. You have the fans that jumped in the middle of Gundy's tenure. They started out 4-7, but then they went 7-6, 7-6, 9-4, 9-4, 11-2, 12-1, 8-5, 10-3, 7-6, 10-3, 10-3, 10-3. They've had a lot of success under Mike Gundy. They've won a Big 12 title under Mike Gundy. They compete for Big 12 titles year in and year out. There's some exceptions. 7-6 in 2018. They're obviously 6-3 this year. But there has been nothing but success under Mike Gundy. The recruiting has gotten better. The national image has gotten better. People want to watch Oklahoma State. You look at this year, every single game was on TV. Most of the games on big networks. They weren't on ESPN. They were on ESPNU, I think, for the Baylor game coming up next week. But, most of the games were on ESPN2, ESPN1.
The Big Fox.
Big Fox, ABC, there for the OU game. So this Oklahoma State program is brand new. And when you get these new fans, well, you've been successful. What the hell's going on? You lose to TCU. This is horrible, and a lot of these fans, I think you're a good example, but you're not calling for Gundy's firing, but, you look at the NFL, if you win a Super Bowl, and all of a sudden you're not, you win 6 games the next year, chances are you're probably not going to be the head coach there by the end of the year. Right. Chances are they're going to bring in someone new. Well, if you can't get the job done, you should have won a Big 12 title game this year. You should be in the playoffs. Let's go find someone who can. So that's where all this argument comes from, is because you got the old age fans, that are saying, this is our guy. And then you got the new age guys, the new age fans that are like, you know what? You're not getting it done. We should be winning Big 12 title games. We should be in the Big 12 title game. And you're not doing it. So let's find someone else. And that's where the clash happens. In social media, you can be a tough guy behind the screen. You don't need to see someone in person, because if I said to you in your face what half the stuff is being said on Twitter, you'd probably lay me out. And that's just the way it is. You got the tough, like, I'll tell you during the break about it. Well, we talked about it. I showed you the screenshots. I got called a dumbass on Facebook because some guy doesn't know how to read. It was awesome. But yeah, it's a sticky situation for Gundy to be in. I do not envy him, because it doesn't seem like a lot of fun. But I think that Mike Gundy is the head coach for the future, maybe not long term. I think he'll go out on his own terms. I don't think he's going to get fired. He's in a bad spot.
Speaking of social media, you can get him on Twitter at ZLancaster91. I'm at ThePattyWheels. Don't forget, still got time. I mean, it's just over 4 o'clock, but get over to Stillwater Milling, Agri Center, and you can see Baxter the mini horse. Oh, how we envy.
And you get some good sales, too.
Oh, yeah. They got Ariat boots all for sale right now that you can get on. I know that, and I mean, what's more attractive than a female in Ariat boots? Come on now. I mean, guys, Christmas is coming up for the ladies. They have brand new ladies' boots over there. Make sure you jump on that. All good stuff, and while you're there, you can pet Baxter the mini horse and take a picture with him. We come back on the afternoon sports drive. We're going to get into some buy or sell. Oklahoma State basketball stayed undefeated over the weekend with a win against Oakland. We got an NFL game kicking off like right now on this Monday.
Tom's favorite.
Oh, yeah, Tom is pumped about this one.
Midweek afternoon football.
I know he's glued to the TV wherever he is. All still to come, the afternoon sports drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Hour number 2 is on deck.
And I don't know how we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go. Laying on the ground, wondering why it's so cold. How we make it out when we make out on the low. Even if it rains, you'd rather make it snow. Both you and me know we gotta let it go. Laying on the ground, wondering why it's so cold. Why you so icy cold? My tears can't drip. Sitting awake alone, tattoos I miss. If I was to call your phone, I know you'd click. Maybe you can have the throne, I call it quits. You can even have my car, I don't need it. I've been inside my room since you left it. Thinking about the place where we first kissed.
Welcome back, Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. It's hour number 2. So, Zach, as you can see, I've been spending this whole break trying to find the NFL game.
Yeah.
And I'm looking right now on CBS.
Oh, it's a CBS game?
No, it's a Fox game. and it says, due to NFL broadcast restrictions, Fox will only be allowed to show this game to about 40% of the country. What?
Hasn't money been a pretty big issue for the NFL and NFL franchises? So
yes,
it would, and TV companies and radio stations. So like, you would think that the NFL and Fox would work it out to where, you know, 100% of the country could watch the game.
I'm looking at the map right now. Okay.
Yeah.
And the red is where they will show the game. Look where we are and how close.
Oh, that's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
So if you want it, you got to go up to the Kansas border.
Yeah.
Or down to Windstar.
Or Windstar. That's just it's funny that the red where it shows it is like inching towards Stillwater. That's unbelievable.
Well, it's like Oklahoma and Kansas City games. This year's a little different, but like I get why they want to show the Browns on CBS. Because of Baker Mayfield, but I mean,
because of Baker Mayfield, yeah.
Oklahoma, yeah. But like, Kansas City is so, and I like Kansas City because my wife and I went up to Kansas City. So like, I like Kansas City because of the city. So like, I root for Kansas City, but they're just such a better product to watch than any other team in the NFL.
Well, they really are, but the Browns are 9-3. But I'm telling you, it's like you said.
It's not because they're great.
No, and what Patrick Mahomes brings that's must-see TV. So yeah, that's why the primetime games have increased for Kansas City, no doubt. But yeah, that's frustrating, man. If it's going to be a special, Monday afternoon game like this, should be available everywhere. That's not good. 2 games a day, by the way. One later tonight. And then one tomorrow night, Dallas Cowboys play tomorrow night against the Ravens. Yeah, that'll be could be a disaster.
My dad's a huge Dallas fan.
I know he is.
So's my uncle. But like, I don't know if it's a rebellion kind of a thing, but I just don't care for Dallas. I just don't.
It's because deep down, you just can't stand the fan base and everything about them. Okay.
I mean, I love my father.
I know,
but like, I also hate Chelsea. The soccer club.
Yeah,
I'm a Man United fan, and my dad's a Chelsea fan. And I'm pretty sure I chose Man United because they're rivals with Chelsea. I love you, Pop.
Sounds about right. Poor Jeff. Let's get buy or sell going here to start off this second hour.
Are you buying?
I'd buy that for $1.
Or are you selling?
You'll pick up the phone and you'll sell.
This is Buy or Sell on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Make money, make money.
Buy or Sell, Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster here on this Monday. Sticking with Oklahoma State football to start you off today, Zach.
Okay.
Because we do have the game with Baylor coming up. I mean, it's pretty meaningless at this point. But as the Big 12 said back when this was originally rescheduled, because that was the first question, was, hey, if Oklahoma State was, if it was going to impact or not impact the Big 12 championship standing, all that, for the game, would it matter? Would it be played? And they said, yeah, we're going to play this game no matter what. So it's going to be the case here this Saturday. With that being said, buy or sell, we saw Tylen get hurt again. We heard today Mike Gundy thinks he's going to be okay. But do you buy or sell that he actually does play next week?
Oh, man.
Or is his career officially donezo?
So this is where it's tough for me, because following Tylen throughout his career, the type of player, the type of person he is, personally, I feel if he's healthy, I think Tylen will play. Just going off of his the way his career's gone, the kind of person, the kind of loyalty he's had to Oklahoma State, I think he'll play again. If I had an in with Tylen Wallace, if I had an in with Rodarius Williams, if I had an in for any of those guys, and they were like, Zach, tell me the career advice, give me advice on what I need to do with my career. Do I stay or do I go? And what you say it'll happen. We'll do it. I would tell, and that's going to be one of my buy or sells. Yeah. I would tell all three of those guys, and any other guy, like if Colby Harville-Peel or Trey Sterling decides, you know what, I'm gonna take a chance at the end of this year, and I'm gonna say, I appreciate everything that Oklahoma State has done for me. I'm gonna try my hand in the NFL. I would tell any one of those guys and these 3 seniors that they need to sit out. And I get, I from a fan standpoint, I understand the frustration. And I think Gundy hit on it a little bit this morning, but this is going to be prevalent and prominent moving forward. And it hasn't really been an issue for Oklahoma State. I get that, you go back 2 years and Justice Hill gets injured in Bedlam, gets a rib injury, and decides he's going to sit out the remainder of the year to prepare for the NFL. If it's your team and one of your prominent players, if Tylan Wallace or Rodarius Williams or Chuba or Colby Harvell-Peel or Trey Sterling or Amen or any of these other guys, that's a big difference maker, an impact player, and they're like, you know what? Or Tevin Jenkins is the perfect example. Tevin injures his back in Bedlam, and a back injury is nothing to mess with. I don't care if you just tweak a muscle. A tweaked muscle can turn into a debilitating injury where you're out 3 or 4 months and you have to have help getting up, off the bed or off the couch or whatever.
Especially an offensive lineman.
Absolutely. And Tevin could, Gundy said it before the year started. He's like, I went into the weight room, and he's banging out 35, 40, 215, like not even counting. And I said, Tevin, there's one guy in here that's worth $40 million. Who is he? Oh, it's you. Tevin can make so much money in the NFL. And Tevin injures his back in Bedlam game, whether it's severe or not severe. There was so many people. Oh, you're a quitter. You quit on your brothers. You ask every one of those players. We're going to line up every single one of his teammates, and we're going to say, did Tevin quit on you? No, Tevin's going to get money.
Yeah.
Tevin's going to take care of his family. Tevin's taking care of his kids, his grandkids, and his grandkids' kids. He's taking care of his family for generations. That's generational money. That's generation-changing money right there. If that's Tylan, if that's Rodarius, if that's Trey Sterling, all 3 of those guys, Chuba, there's 4 guys that have been dealing with injury, and they're like, do I continue to play? Because there's no way they go into this game 100%. There's always the risk of re-injury, and that's the same surgically repaired knee that Tylan came up limping with. If it's play or go to the NFL, go to the NFL. Yeah. Protect yourself. Yeah. Go get money that's going to change the course of the rest of your family for forever. Because these guys, Rodarius Williams has made an insane amount of money this year. Tylan Wallace he was already good. Tylan's made more money for himself this year. Chuba had a bit of a down year, but Chuba's going to make life-changing money. And that's something that Chuba said, last year when we asked him. He was like, I didn't come to Oklahoma State to have fun. I came to Oklahoma State to get to the NFL. That's these guys' goal. Yeah. They're not quitting their teammates. They're protecting themselves. If I went to someone that worked in a meat market and I said, you can continue to work in this meat market, or you can go and make $20 million a year, even though you've been here for 4 years and they gave you your opportunity, would you continue to work in that meat market for $16 an hour? Or are you going to go make $20 million a year? You're going to say, listen, Bob, I really appreciate the opportunity. You gave me a job. You kept a roof over my head and food on my family's table. But I've got an opportunity to go make $20 million. Yeah. I'm not quitting you. I'll always remember you, and I'll always love you, and I'll always buy my meat from Bob's Meat Market whenever I'm in town. But I'm going to go take $20 million.
Well, it's as Gundy said sort of today as well, and said it forever. It's a business now.
Absolutely.
And guess what? College sports is about to become a real business.
Absolutely.
Because players are going to be pocketing.
Yeah, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's coming. And we knew this for years.
Absolutely.
And it's here. So get ready for it.
I don't even care that they're making money. I just want NCAA football back.
I'm with you, too.
I just want that.
When I heard that wasn't coming back immediately, I was really disappointed. Disappointed.
Get that bread.
Yeah, exactly. You go there and you make your money. And if you're good enough to do it, you got to take a chance. It's just like you said. A lot of these guys' goal, and it's not to quit after college football, especially if you're at a D1 level. If you're at a D1 level in a Power 5 school, go to the NFL, man.
Absolutely.
Now, your chances aren't great because the NFL is so competitive, but you can still attempt it. And here's the thing. I'll say this. I'm going to sell. I don't think Tylan plays next week, and I don't think we find out until right before the game.
Oh, yeah. I think it'll be that way with all of them.
Right, and that's going to be probably the case. Chuba's, he's done. And it's probably going to be the case for Rodarius. But If I'm him, I'm not playing, because there's a lot. Look, when he retweaked that knee, that was the first thing I thought about. Was, oh no, that's the risk you do run. Like, I was happy he was out there because he gives Oklahoma State their best chance to score offensively. But when that happened, and it happened on a touchdown too, which was even more, I was like, that's the risk you run, because that's basically right there. That is Tylan Wallace to an NFL team, and that's a big pile of cash right there.
Yeah.
Okay. And he just tweaked his ankle or his knee, and you're like, those types of injuries right there, when they retweak, sometimes it takes forever to get back. And all it takes is one injury in a final game right here. And oh, by the way, again with Baylor, that doesn't matter. You retweak your knee or something worse, and you know how many draft boards you fall off?
Well, that's the thing, is if you're anybody and you re-tear an ACL that's already been torn,
that's what I'm saying.
And you look at a brother that's torn an ACL 3 times. If you're NFL scouts, you're thinking you're not going to be physically ready in time for the combine if there is one. But do we even want to run the risk of paying this guy money when he may not even be able to play?
You become damaged goods.
Absolutely.
And the NFL doesn't take damaged goods. You know why? Because there's always next guy up. I know Tylan is really, really good, but there's always
NFL players.
Always next guy up. And the thing, too, to kind of put a cherry on this, in the NFL, last night was a perfect example. You saw the Broncos and the Chiefs. The Broncos, really young team.
Yeah.
And in case anyone hasn't noticed, just like all pro sports, the NFL keeps getting younger and younger and younger. They show the average age of all the main skill players on that Broncos team, like 20 to 24 years old.
Well,
okay?
if you look at Patrick Mahomes, the stuff he's doing is done by 29, 30, 32-year-old quarterbacks.
He came in the league at 23 and was an MVP. So, yeah, I mean, it's time to strike while they're young, because all of a sudden you may just get in, if you're an NFL team, you may just get into a guy's career where all of a sudden he pulls a Tom Brady or a Ben Roethlisberger or a Phillip Rivers, and he goes forever and ever on your team. Same with wide receivers, and I know running backs, they take more damage and all that, but still. So all those factors playing here, I just don't see how it benefits Tylan. Now, if he's out there, am I going to be like, oh, that's not no? I mean, that's great, fine, do what he wants to do. But I'm like you, if I'm an agent, telling him, hey man, best move.
I'm telling all of them.
Yeah, just there's no reason for you to go out there. What you got for me?
So we found out earlier today that Oklahoma State hoops moved up in the Jeff Goodman Power 36. Whatever it is, they check in there following that Marquette win. Now they're not top 25, but they're checking in at 29, which is impressive. And then you look at the AP poll, they're receiving votes. They were included in Jeff Goodman's top 25 at number 23. So Oklahoma State, they've got 2 more games left in non-conference play. They climb into the top 25 by conference play, buy or sell. And they're receiving votes. I think technically they're ranked 31 in the AP.
So they have 2 games left.
Yeah, not great games.
Or Roberts and Wichita State.
Yeah.
I think they would need to blow both of them out really convincingly to get in the top 25. So I'm going to sell it at the moment, because if I look back at the Oakland game, and I was talking to Tom about this before the show, about the last 9 to 10 minutes of the game in that second half is when they really took over.
Yeah.
Before that, they started off really slow. And in the Big 12, you're not going to start off that slow and be able to come back against a lot of teams. And if that's the case against Oral Roberts or even Wichita State, I have no doubt they can come back and beat them. But it doesn't result in a blowout type win, which I think you need to convince the voters. Let's get them in the top 25. Now, will they be in the top 25 at some point this season? Oh, yeah. If they keep playing like they do, because we have seen, and I know the Marquette game, that was great. Defensively, especially, that was great. And Marquette, by the way, losing on the last second to beating Wisconsin at the last second on the tip-in. Yeah, number 4 team in the country. Makes it even look even better. So that's great. That's awesome. I need to see quicker starts. And I think, hopefully, that starts tomorrow night against an Oral Roberts team. We know there's been history there, right? But this squad, I'm really, really liking watching this team. Yeah. I'm telling you, and I knew I was going to coming in, because there's so much athleticism, and you can get production from a lot of guys, and different guys too. Doesn't have to be the same 2 or 3 even. you know you're going to get Cade's production. Likely he's going to give you production. It wasn't necessarily Rondell Walker on Saturday. It was Caleb Boone stepping up. It was Farron Flavors, who, by the way, I think has the most natural shot on the team. He's so fun to watch when he's hitting from three. So this team, I'll say this, I'm going to sell it, but they're really scary.
Yeah.
If I'm any team in the Big 12 or these next two non-conference modes, I don't want to play Oklahoma State right now.
So I think they're almost there.
They are.
I think that if it were a better team than ORU, and I'm not saying that ORU is terrible, they're certainly better than Oakland. I don't know if they're as good as Texas Southern or UTA, but I think ORU is a chance to. You can't, like you said, you can't get off to a slow start, and I'm not saying that ORU is going to beat them, but they're an okay team. They'll give you some fits. I'm going to sell it, but I think that Oklahoma State is right on the cusp.
Yeah.
I think that they're setting it maybe 26, 27. I think they climb a lot, especially, if you look at Marquette, they've got Green Bay at home tomorrow night, and then they face UCLA on the road, which will be a little tricky. UCLA is 3-1, so I think you've got a chance. And when do they play TCU? They play them on the 16th.
I would say that's like second to last week. Yeah, December.
You play on the 16th, and you look at Marquette. They've got Creighton coming up, and I think Creighton's number 8. They got them the 14th.
Yeah.
So I mean, if Marquette can pull off the impossible,
well, and the thing is with the AP, like. Don't get twisted. They would like to have Cade Cunningham, which the way they see it, it's Cade Cunningham's team.
Absolutely.
We'd like to see Cade Cunningham's team in the top 25.
Right.
Like that's good for ratings.
Well, I think they haven't been in the top 25 since 2013-14 season.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. They're right there. They're really close.
I'm going to sell it, but I think they'll be 26, 27, right on the cusp. And then after TCU, I think they'll jump in.
Let's go to the phone lines real quick. Caller, you're on the Afternoon Sports Drive with Patrick and Zach.
Well, you guys, right after I called, you kind of went into it a little bit. What I was going to say was I watched that Marquette game against Wisconsin, and they actually had a couple of times during the latter part of that game where they could have won that game by 6 or 7 points. Not a lot, but they made a few mistakes kind of down the stretch, and they let Wisconsin take. I think they took a lead by either tied it up or took a lead by a point or two. And then they came right back and took the lead, but there were some mistakes that let Wisconsin get to that point. So I'm watching Marquette, and that big guy, he looked, I'm not going to say dominant, but there were plays where he made it look easy against Wisconsin. And
he's got a chance to be pretty good this year.
State.
Yeah, he's got a chance to be pretty good this year.
And Oklahoma State looked more cohesive in the Marquette game than they did before then. So if they keep playing like a team, especially when they went to that zone, it just looked natural. Yeah. Everybody knew their jobs, and they did their jobs, and they everybody, they didn't overplay anything. They played within themselves, got turnover after turnover, which got them transition baskets, and anyway. But watching Marquette play, to me, I think that is going to help Oklahoma State because Marquette looks like a team that not only did they play well against Wisconsin, but they look like a team a lot like Oklahoma State, that they have more upside than some of the other teams they're going to play, and they're going to get better as the season goes on.
No, absolutely. And that's why I'm not really putting a lot of credence into the Oakland game. Oakland gave Oklahoma State trouble for about the first 30 minutes of the game.
Well, that was easily the best they've shot all year, Oakland.
And that's, Boynton mentioned it in the postgame. He was like, how do you explain to a bunch of freshmen that are looking at a team that's shooting 21, 22% and say, listen, these guys are good. These guys have a chance to beat you. They've got one of their better players back who's been injured. He's back.
They're like, Coach, we can see the stats.
Yeah. How do you look at a bunch of guys that were dominant in high school and say, listen, we've got an 0-3, 0-4 team coming in here, and they're only shooting, they're shooting less than 30% in nearly every category, but they could beat you. They're really good. They have a chance. They have a coach that's been there longer, almost as long as I've been alive. You can't.
I saw that was unbelievable.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You could talk to your blue in the face, but you might as well be talking to a brick wall because a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids, who think they're invincible. And I'm not knocking these kids, but kids that think they're invincible are like, Coach, please.
I think it. I would think it.
I can read.
Yeah.
I can watch film.
No, if
these guys are awful.
If they told me that, I'd say I've seen what they've been able to do, and they're really bad.
But he also went on to say this was this is going to be a great lesson for us.
Yeah, sure.
Because it doesn't matter what a record is. You know, like TCU really struggles, but Oklahoma State struggles in Fort Worth. You know, so they're going to be able to look at this and say, you know what, you guys struggle, but we can't take our foot off the gas. You know, yeah, we beat a really good Marquette team on the road, but that doesn't mean that now we're at home playing a team that can hardly win a ball game. We can just squeak by. You know, we can relax. We can set back and say, you know what, we don't really need to play as hard as we can. We're still going to beat them, you know, and blow them out of the water. That's not the case, and I think that was a perfect learning opportunity for this team.
Well, one last thing, Oklahoma State, I think an advantage that might help them get, you know, highly ranked fairly quickly and stay there is, you know, we all of a sudden we have a deep bench, and half those guys are great ball handlers. All these guys that transferred in, all these guards can handle the ball. It's not just the two or three guys that start the game or the first guy off the bench. And that's going to give you an advantage if you have a player or two missing, but you're able to play. And if that happens with a lot of other teams, they may not have that at their disposal.
Well, and especially this season, you know, you have to, 6 or 7 guys, I think, enabled to be able to form a team. I want to say it's like 6 or 7 guys, and you can still play. So if all of a sudden you go into a game and, you know, a team is, you know, they've been decimated and they've got 3 or 4 guys that are setting out, and they're setting at 7 or 8 guys. You know, we've seen Oklahoma State. You go back, Boynton's first year, I think, is when it was, and when they went to Arkansas, they had 6 or 7 scholarship players on the bench. Half the team, you know, you had some injuries. You had 2 or 3 guys with the flu, you know, and so it's going to be interesting because if they can settle down, you know, and not turn the ball over, you know, or turn the ball over, you know, 6-7 times, 11, 12 max, you know, then like you go back to Oakland, if you don't, or Marquette, let's use Marquette for example. If you don't turn the ball over 18 times, the game is out of reach. You know, you're not down huge in the first half.
Yeah.
You eliminate turnovers. And this team, this team has a chance to do something really special because it's athletic, it's deep, it has got, like Patrick was saying, you've got guys that can go off at any given moment on any given night. Bryce Williams has a chance to go off. Farron Flavors, we know about Cade Cunningham, we know about Isaac Likely. Rondell Walker has shown at times he can be really, really good. So obviously Caleb Boone has a chance to go off. This team, you eliminate turnovers, you eliminate the silly young mistakes, and that's going to happen. Those are going to happen, but you know, as the season goes on, you eliminate that. This team has a chance to be special. I'm not saying that they're a national championship team, but this team has a chance to be really special, and you're probably only going to lose 2 guys off this team because I could see Farron Flavors coming back, and there's a chance they might not lose Ice. You know, if he just has if he has a good year and not a great year, I could see Ice coming back. You know, and then you only lose 1 guy. And you could always lose Farron Flavors, but you know, Bryce Williams, I could see Bryce Williams coming back, and then the rest of the guys are all freshmen and sophomores. So this team is going to be special for a while.
Yeah, Big 12 is going to be tough.
It is. It absolutely is.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate the phone call.
Yeah, it's you know, the one thing I think that I've learned so far, and something we hit on a bunch before the season started, was the offense is going to be there.
Absolutely.
And when they put on a defensive performance like they did against Marquette, that just, you know, it's an all-around solid team. You're going to have slow starts. I get it. But getting some of that out of the way now in non-con against a team like Oakland.
Well, you have a defensive performance like that, and you don't need to score 85, 90 points a game. And you can squeak away with 70 to 75 points.
This team that's going to put the ball in the bucket, man, and we know that. We come back here, we'll finish up buy or sell. Then later on the show, we'll get to what we learned. Don't forget, you can still go to Stillwater Milling Agri Center. You got time before 5 o'clock to check out Baxter the Mini Horse. Get a picture. Pet him.
Get your family Christmas photos made.
Family Christmas photo. Put the kid on the horse.
Phone cameras are nice.
That's right.
They're super high tech.
Do it.
You don't need to hire a photographer.
You heard it here on the Afternoon Sports Drive. We come back, more buy or sell after this.
I don't wanna wait for our life to be over. You have it, but you take it how you left it. This is give and take.
Welcome back, Afternoon Sports Drive, Triple Play Sports Radio. Patrick Wheeler, Zach Lancaster, and show brought to you by Stillwater Milling Agri Center on 502 East 6th, by the way. I guess just to tell you where you can go see Baxter. 502 East 6th in Stillwater.
Just go to the grain mill.
Yeah, that's right. You can see Baxter, the mini horse. I mean, what else do you need to know? That's pretty much all you need to know to get there. It's a great idea. We should actually think about getting one at the station and sitting him out front and saying, hey, we'll give you like a deal, advertisers. You advertise on the station.
You get your pictures with a mini horse,
and for your unlimited rides. And stuff.
That's a surefire way to make money.
Feed it carrots.
And if you're Stillwater Milling, think about how much product they're going to sell because they have a mini horse.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, it's a good idea.
I'm not country and western, right? I'm city. Now I like watching rodeos. I've been to a couple PBRs. I've got a pair of cowboy boots and I've got Wranglers. I've got a cowboy hat. But I don't need fencing or pins or whatever. But I guarantee you that if I weren't on the radio right now, I would be at Stillwater Milling because of that mini horse. And my body would make its way into that store. And I would spend money.
Oh yeah,
on something that I can't use.
Marketing team needs a raise over
My
there.
goodness.
Stillwater Milling, no doubt. Hey, and for the outside worker, because tons of people around here we know outside labor on your holiday gift list this year can give them Tingley's Workeration Outwear. It makes an excellent, much appreciated gift, and they come up to sizes 3X, so you get everybody covered there. For your outside work. Literally
everybody covered.
Literally everybody. Back to buy or sell. We only got through a couple because they're really good ones today. My second one I'm going to throw you to in the NFL. We've seen, and we'll get to more NFL talk tomorrow and break down some of the games because we just don't have enough time in these shows, I'm telling you. But we saw the Browns go to 9-3. And they're one of the biggest storylines in this season. And I have to think that Browns fans, this is like their first time they've had a winning record at this point in the season. Something since like 94, I think is what I saw.
I was 3 years old.
I wasn't even alive.
I was 3 years old.
Yeah. So it's been a while. And they're 9-3. And yesterday they really beat down the Titans. The final score won't necessarily show that. The first half wasn't even close. They were up by like 27 or whatever it was, 31, whatever it was. And they let them come back in that second half. But it's a pretty dominating win. Baker Mayfield throws 4 touchdowns in the first half. And, by the way, I've watched a lot of Baker Mayfield in the NFL so far. Probably the best game, first half too, that I've ever seen him play. He looked really good. And
looked like Baker Mayfield.
He did. I'm usually the guy I'm going to, you know what, on Baker Mayfield because he usually deserves it. But the question is this year, since Odell Beckham Jr. has gone down with injury, and we know he's out for the year. That happened back in, let's see, I have it pulled up here. That happened back in week 7 against Cincinnati. They ended up winning that game 37-34. Since then, they've had 1 loss and 4 more wins. Buy or sell that Odell Beckham Jr. being out of this lineup has made the Browns a better team as a whole.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. And it's not because of his production on the field. Not that he's the best receiver on the field, but and he's still there. It's not like he's no longer with the franchise, so you could call him a locker room cancer or whatever. But when you have and this would, I think this would be the case no matter where he was. If he was in Cincinnati, if he was in New York on the Giants or the Jets, if he was with Detroit, if he was with Kansas City, Odell Beckham made his career, jump-started his whole career is based off of that one-handed catch he made in New York, right?
Yes.
And we've seen multiple instances throughout his career where we've seen him like, wow, that was impressive. He's had some really good moments. He is an athletic, he's a talented receiver, but his ego is bigger than his talent level. And so when Odell's on the field, if Odell's not getting catches, If Odell's not getting looks, then I'm sure that Odell is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're Baker, you're like, well, I've got to throw to Odell. My first look is Odell. I'm looking at him. I'm trying to find him on this field. So, yeah, I'll buy it. When Odell, there's no doubt that he's talented and he could win you some ball games, I'm sure. But his ego is so much that he has to have his looks. So, yeah, when he's not on the field, you can spread the ball out a little bit more. You're a little more than just that one-dimensional. So, yeah, I'll buy it.
I'm going to buy it. I think it was an absolute disaster, last year when Freddie Kitchens was there. He was part of the problem anyways. Kevin Stefanski comes in. I think he's changed the culture around that team for the better.
That's one of Tom's favorite words.
I know it is. Culture. But
we've got a great culture here at Triple Play.
We really do. Great culture. But last year, when you look at, for instance, the incident with Myles Garrett.
Absolutely.
That was what that team was all about.
Absolutely.
Okay? Going out there and doing stupid things on the field, off the field. Odell Beckham is better known for
the kicking net incident.
Fighting the kicking net, partying on the bus before his lone playoff game, and then posting a dud in the playoff game.
The New York Giant boat photo.
That's what I'm saying. That one.
Oh yeah.
And then the photo of him in bed with a model, and there's lines of cocaine everywhere. You go down the list of things that OBJ is known for, and then to catch.
Yeah.
So, and I think that he brings drama to that team. That was never an issue or something we had to talk about, knowing is that really true? No, it's true. Baker Mayfield personality didn't mix with Odell Beckham Jr. Because Baker Mayfield's a fiery dude.
Yeah.
That's no secret either.
But he's also not like Johnny Manziel where he's going out and partying and he's over the top boisterous.
He's calmed down since college.
Yeah.
And his rookie year. And we've seen that, and I think he's matured a little bit as the years have gone on here. He's a couple years in the NFL.
But marriage will do it to you.
That too. I was almost about to say, now that he's settled down, I honestly wonder how much that has to do with
marriage will settle you down.
Yeah. But they've looked smooth. They can run the ball like no other. The defense is actually not that bad.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, Jarvis Landry's become a true wide receiver one these last few games. You've got a couple of good young wide receivers, and I think that it's helped. There's not this distraction. If you remember last year as well, we saw the same thing happen in Minnesota. When Kirk Cousins was playing terrible, Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs both publicly came out and said, dude's got to throw us the ball more. And what did Kirk Cousins do? He publicly apologized and was like, sorry, guys, I'll get you the ball more. It looked like kind of a weak move and all this. Not saying that's something that necessarily happened to Baker, but there has been talks about, hey, not giving me the ball enough. And that's just Odell. With that gone, there's just one less thing you have to worry about, and this team is able to flow and actually show what they have. I'm not saying they're next level. I don't even know if they can win a playoff game at this moment. We'll get more on the Browns tomorrow. But I am going to buy that no OBJ has made this team a lot better in terms of focusing and winning and finishing football games. It's something that Browns fans have not been used to for a long time. What else you got for me?
So my second one, I'm gonna add to it. I'm gonna switch it up on you just a little bit.
Okay.
But it's nothing that's gonna. It's a big enough curveball that you're not gonna be able to do it. So Oklahoma State plays Baylor this coming Saturday. It's a must-win game, and they bounce back and beat Baylor, buy or sell. And that's kind of a two-parter. Buy or sell, must win. Buy or sell, bounce back.
Sell, must win. Mathematically, they're not. You can.
Well, and I don't necessarily mean that from a
maybe more of a. This is look good for the team,
looks
the
good
coaching,
for the team,
all that,
for the fans.
Yeah.
So, like an appearance.
Yeah. Okay. In that category,
because they're not like right now. I think it's either like I've seen a lot of Texas Bowl down in Houston, but so it's not. Well, we have a chance to play back in.
Right.
It's an appearance.
Okay.
Well,
with that being said, so I'm going to sell both of those.
Okay.
Because the players that are the best players on the team right now, offense and defense, not going to play.
No.
I am sold on that part. With that happening, I've already seen what this offense can't do when Tylen's not on the field, okay, for a full game. And that was the worst I've seen all season long. Oof. So unless they're somehow magically going to improve this week and learn how to play without Tylen Wallace, which I seriously doubt it, they're not going to win this game. And Baylor's not a good team anyways. They're not a good team.
No.
But who's to say that, who can't beat Oklahoma State at this point? I think they're really defeated after this loss, and I hate to see that for them because I thought that this season did have so much promise. So much promise. But I will say this, if the players are out there by chance, don't see it happening, but if Tylen does play, if Darius plays, whatever, then yeah, it is a must-win in terms of we need to make sure and not end this season on an even worse note, because you thought you heard talk about Mike Gundy after this week. They lose to Baylor, then what?
Yeah, I'm buying both, because just so it's a must-win game from an optic standpoint, because if you're this team.
Would you say that even if Tyler and all them don't play, still do you must win? Okay.
Well, and they have enough talent to beat Baylor without those guys. Baylor has just not played well this year. Now, they need to get good play from Spencer. They need to be able to run the ball. But even if they don't play, and I think some of them are going to play, right? I would tell them all to not play. Rodarius, the guys that have a chance to make money in the NFL, I would tell them not to play. But I find it hard that all of those guys would not play. You would just have to think, statistically that one or two of them would. I don't know. But optically, from a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint, especially from a fan standpoint, it's a must win, because if you're Gundy, now I understand that he has a Twitter account. Gundy don't run that Twitter account.
No.
Gundy doesn't spend time on Twitter. We know what Gundy thinks about social media. I would put money on Gundy not having Twitter on his phone. Not even having the app.
Yeah, and if he does, it's muted.
But Gundy knows what's being said.
Sure.
Now, whether he cares or not is a different story, but I think Gundy understands where, what position his team is in. And I think by the fall, we'll be in a situation where there'll be 60,000 people back in Boone Pickens. And that's what was so. I'm not saying that A&M last year was a must-win game, but we saw what the news of Chuba and Tylen and all those guys coming back did in January, how much it excited the fan base. Imagine if they had beat A&M in that bowl game. You end the season on a win. If they beat Baylor, they go into the bowl game. If you lose to Baylor, no one's going to care about a bowl game. There'll be that X amount of fans that will travel and go to a bowl game, but there's going to be a lot of fans that are just like, you know what? We lost to TCU. We lost to Baylor. The season was a bust as soon as we lost to Texas. I don't care.
On next year. Yeah.
I don't care about the Alamo or the Texas Bowl or whatever. But and there's still going to be fans that don't care about it. But if you beat Baylor, then you haven't lost the fan base this year. And then you go into a bowl game with some excitement, and you win a bowl game. All of a sudden you win, you end the season on a 2-game winning streak, and you go into the offseason with a win, and the fans are like, you know what, we might be losing Tylen, we might be losing Rodarius, but things are okay. We've got good talent. We're bringing back a lot of guys. The offensive line loses a couple of guys, but we got a lot of talent that played. We'll be okay. Yeah, it's a must-win game. And I think Oklahoma State absolutely has to bounce back, because if Oklahoma State goes out there, even if they play let's say they play the way they did against TCU and they win by 7, that's still, I think, just as bad as a loss. You can't go out there and play cruddy. You got to go out there and you got to win by 14, 21 points. Mm-hmm. You have to win. It's a must win.
Okay,
absolutely.
Get him on Twitter, ZLancaster91. I'm at the Patty Wheels. That's buy or sell for today. We'll recycle some, as always, into the next. We got a lot of good stuff to get to tomorrow through the rest of the week.
Well, and technically my third was yours.
Yeah, we kind of did mix it in there with the players a little bit, too.
Because all I did was just add more guys.
Yeah, that's true.
It's different, but not.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna throw you an Eagles question that's just burning a hole in the
We got time.
Yeah.
We'll hit it, and then we'll spend 20-second answer, 30-second answer.
Let's do that.
And then we'll do, because I can see you're chomping.
Okay. I do want to get that out there. All right, let's take our last break. We'll come back, do that, and get into what we learned to finish out the show here on the Afternoon Sports Drive. It's Afternoon Sports Drive on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network. Patrick Wheeler and Zach Lancaster on this Monday show brought to you by Stillwater Milling Agri Center.
You can make it.
You can.
You have 3 minutes.
You got 3 minutes on 502 East 6. Get over there and say hi to Baxter, the mini horse. And I'm sure if you get there right now, they'll let you.
They might give you a few extras.
Unless Baxter's got another appearance. I'm sure he's on tour right now or something.
Just follow the trailer. Just be a trailer chaser.
You will force them to let you see Baxter. That's what I'd do. If I was there, I'd show up and be like, hey,
show me the horse.
You show me Baxter right now. I won't leave till you do. That's all you got to say. Let's get the last buy or sell here.
30-second answer.
Yeah,
let's hear it. I
had to throw this in here, man. Buy or sell, because yesterday the Eagles finally pulled the trigger and said, Carson Wentz, you suck.
Yeah.
Because he was sucking against the Packers. We all knew he would. There wasn't any revelation this was going to happen. And they pulled him and threw Jalen Hurts in. It wasn't just for a couple plays. He played the rest of the game, midway through the third, I think, all the way through the fourth. And the offense was different. He threw a touchdown. He actually got them within 7 of the Packers, by the way. And the offense just looked completely different. So do you buy or sell that Jalen Hurts can get the Eagles at least one win this season? That's saying he's going to hopefully start next week, but knowing Peterson, we don't know if that's going to be the case, but most likely will.
If he starts, and maybe not even next week, but if he continues to start, I would buy it just because it's a different look. He's shown that he's at least somewhat capable of moving the ball and connecting with receivers. He has some ability on his feet. We don't know what the NFL level is going to look like running the ball, but it's a different look. It's fresh blood. It gives the offense a fresh breath of air. So I would buy that. I think he can get him at least one win at some point.
They play the Saints, Cardinals, and Cowboys to end the season.
Cowboys. I think they'll beat him. I think they'll beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's your best chance. Now that the Cardinals, I've shown the last few weeks they're falling apart.
They could get it there.
Yeah, but the thing is that can Jalen Hurts move this offense with the lack of weapons that there is? Sure. There's no wide receivers, but the best thing about it is that we saw four more sacks taken by Carson Wentz yesterday. The amount of sacks that he's absorbed this year is just unbelievable. Yeah. Jalen Hurts comes in, natural scrambler. He's going to run with the ball. He threw it pretty good. And the offense was not moving in slow motion like it was with Carson Wentz. So that alone gives you an uptick. I think it could come down to the last game against Dallas, just like it did last year. The Giants are playing really well, believe it or not. The Washington football team's playing somewhat competent right now. The NFC East is still up for grabs at the moment. But if they could come in and beat the Cowboys and maybe take 2 out of the last 3 here, have a real shot at winning the NFC East. So I'm gonna buy that it does, and even if it doesn't matter, he's gonna beat the Cowboys for sure. So before we round out the show, we're going to get to this.
The day is coming to an end. Time to find out if these two got any smarter.
The question is, what did you learn?
Let's find out what the guys learned today on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
Well, I learned something today.
All right, Zach, what'd you learn today?
I learned that Cade Cunningham is the real deal. And I've known that, but it's kind of been validated. The Big 12 named him Newcomer of the Week. Yes, his first honor he's picked up from the Big 12, weekly honor, rather. He is one of just 5 players nationally and the only freshman that's averaging at least 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 4.5 assists a game. He's leading the team in scoring, assists, steals, and three-point percentage, and is second on the squad in rebounding and field goal percentage, and is the only Big 12 player with those all-around numbers of 18 points scoring, 4.5 assists, 1.8 steals, and a 46% shooting percentage. He's averaging 6 rebounds a game, and he is averaging 1 block per game, and his field goal percentage is 49%.
Well, and the 8 assists he had against Oakland, I mean, even when it took a while for him to score. And in that game, but when he did, it was all good. But the assists go back to what we've been talking about. He's going to pass the ball.
Yeah, and they're impressive.
Yeah, they are.
They're not just dish outs.
No.
His court vision is just
exactly
off the charts.
He's able to, he's got his head up all the time. He's making plays. He's finding guys that you don't see,
absolutely,
naturally on the court.
That the camera guy can't see.
Exactly. Yeah. There's been a number of times.
What the hell? Show the ball, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then when he scores, he threw down at that windmill.
Decided on that windmill basically when he got to the free throw line.
Imagine being athletic enough that you can decide what dunk you want to do midair.
Oh my gosh! If that's his first dunk like that,
I want to see the rest of the package.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's like when you select your guy on 2K and you say dunk package.
Yeah.
He went through. He grabbed number 1 there, and he's got like 20.
At
left.
what point do we see a 360 or behind the back or
throw it off the
legs?
board? Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know if he's showy enough.
I know, that's what I was
to
thinking.
alley-oop to himself. But can you imagine how much the nation, not just Oklahoma State fans, but the nation would erupt if he tossed it off the backboard to himself?
That would be awesome.
Oh my!
That would be so cool. I hope he does it. I'm asking for a lot.
Boy's winning an ESPY, and they don't even give him like that.
What I learned today is that so Michael Jordan just opened a new golf course in Florida.
Okay, doesn't surprise me.
Right, I think it's probably like 1 of a billion. And if you watched the documentary, then you saw that's what he always did was play golf. That was his thing.
I got a game tonight, but I'm gonna go play 36 holes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna gamble on it too while we're at it. So in his new golf course, super private. I saw there was like 100 people on the list. 100 members is all there is. This huge course, a bunch of big time names as you would expect. But the difference in this course compared to everywhere else, there's no car girls. Okay, there's no girls in the car, bringing around the refreshments and all this like you see at other golf courses. No, instead, Michael Jordan's course uses drones to bring you beverages and food to your tee boxes.
Okay.
There's a video post on Instagram of the drone flying in a case of Bud Light, Coronas, whatever you want.
A bunch of Natty Light.
Yeah. You say, I was some Natty Light at Michael Jordan's club, and they bring it by drone and drop it off to you.
Sir, we don't sell that.
What is
here.
Natty Light?
We don't sell that.
I couldn't believe when I saw it. I was like, you know what, MJ, it's only the best there. It doesn't.
I wonder how much it costs to be a member.
That's what I was thinking. Wow.
If they don't put out the cost, then you can't afford it.
we know we can't afford it.
If
anyways.
something doesn't have a price tag, just keep walking.
Imagine, there's people working every single day, and then there's people getting their beer delivered to them by drone.
Think about how many jobs Michael Jordan just eliminated by getting rid of car girls.
Poor car girls.
It's stingy.
Never had a chance. That's going to do it for us here on the Afternoon Sports Drive.
We didn't get to it, but the 11-20 record that Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State has in the last 2 games of the season, dating back to 2005, Oklahoma State has not won the last 2 regular season games.
That's wild. That really is.
Now, they've won the last game of the regular season in a bowl game, but that doesn't count. The last 2 regular season games, they're 11-20, and have not won the last 2 games since 2005.
That really is wild, man. Yeah. Zach leaving you with a wild stat on this Monday.
That should have been what I learned.
That's right. That's a bonus.
Yikes.
Don't forget to check out Stillwater Milling Agri Center, 502 East 6th Street
you
in
see
Stillwater.
Baxter riding down the road.
You might have just missed Baxter, but you could maybe catch a glimpse of him if you drive by or something like that. And make sure you check out all their specials on boots, their footwear, and their outerwear as well, all going on. Perfect timing for Christmas. That's Zach Lancaster. I'm Patrick Wheeler. We're back here tomorrow on the Afternoon Sports Drive on the Triple Play Sports Radio Network.